Hello, thank you for joining us for this session on how to reinvent hiring. And we're going to explore how you can do that by unlocking the power of remote associates for your mid-sized firm. My name is Kristen Tyler. I'm one of the co-founders of Law Clerk. You can find us at lawclerk.legal if you haven't visited us before. And I'm joined today by my fellow co-founder and our CEO, Greg Garman. Greg, thank you for being here. So I wanted to start off this discussion because I think some attorneys think of law clerk when it comes to solo attorneys and small firms, but the reality is we actually work with a lot of mid-sized firms and larger, and we're finding that more and more mid-sized firms are turning towards law clerk as a solution to the challenges they're seeing with hiring. So, Greg, I know that your career has kind of been almost largely in the mid-sized firm space. Would you tell us a little bit about your background and the firms that you've worked with?
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. Well, we did this together. Law Clerk came out of what we needed. We came from larger firm. I was a managing partner of a larger firm, and we ultimately decided that sort of mid-size and smaller was better. And so we've worked at firms from 15 on up. But it really came out of what we needed. And what we needed was lawyers always face the same problems. They face the problem of, I need to get more work done. I need to get it done with really, really great quality, and I need to get it done faster. And it feels like every mid-sized firm struggles with that same problem. And we struggled with that same problem. And that's how Law Clerk came to be. It was a tool to get more work done, get it done profitably, get it done with really great quality, please the clients, and ultimately get it done faster.
Well, that's for sure. And I think you've hit on there in that opening some of the challenges that mid-sized firms are facing. I think um, every business these days is feeling the pressure of inflation. They're getting pressure from associates who are wanting increased salaries, and we've definitely seen the data on the big jump in salaries over the last 2 years. What are some of the other challenges that you're either seeing or hearing about when it comes to hiring for mid-sized law firms?
Well, I mean, finding candidates and getting them hired in under 9 months seems to be a nearly impossible task anymore. Recruiting season comes around once a year, and there's just a fundamental truth in legal that as the market has evolved, it's harder to find talented people. When you do find talented people, it's harder to retain them. And on top of all that, there's clearly generational shifts of what associates are looking for in this world versus what associates were looking for in a world of 25 years ago when I started. And just the speed of hiring, finding talented people, and retaining talented people is literally growing harder, it feels like, by the day. And I don't know a single lawyer at a single firm, from a solo practitioner to a 3,000 lawyer firm, who doesn't say the same thing.
Yeah, that's definitely what we've been hearing about. Now, you hit on something there that I think it's really interesting, and I've been hearing a lot of attorneys talking about this kind of generational change in what the new generation of young lawyer, what they're looking for with their career and their life. And, I think more and more associates want to come in, they want to work hard and do good work, but they're not necessarily as concerned about someday making partner or building a book of business as maybe you and I were as we were growing our careers. So, when it comes to these attorneys, I've heard you refer to them as non-partnership track associates. Tell me a little bit about what you think. How can non-partnership track associates be a benefit to a mid-sized firm?
Yeah, so there's a couple of factors at play. Clearly, one of them is generational priorities. I think a lot is talked about, and I think it's a little bit unclear whether it's kind of a chicken and egg problem, which is, does the current legal environment, because it's so different, it doesn't have the growth that we had 20 years ago. Is it pushing associates to say they want something different, or is it they actually want something different? But regardless, the fundamental economics are the same. Legal grew at a rate 4 times the size of economy for generation after generation after generation. It peaked at about 2% of the U.S. economy, and it's been stagnant, if not actually declining as a percentage of the economy. And what that means is that what we did to grow 2 decades ago, even a decade ago, isn't the model today. The pyramid doesn't work the same way it used to work. It doesn't work to add a whole bunch of new associates every year and a whole bunch of new partners every year, and the firm would grow and the pyramid would remain the same. Today, we live in a world in which nearly every firm I know, the partnership ranks are relatively stagnant by number, and they don't have the flexibility of continuing to simply add new partners and grow the associate pool and make that pyramid bigger. And so, what do firms have? Firms have really talented lawyers who, partners who already go to court, who already are there to take depositions. And what we need, and I hear this by the hundred of both friends and colleagues and people that law clerk works with, is we need more people to get work done. And there are thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of really talented people out there who don't want to have the interaction with clients. They don't particularly want to go to court. They don't particularly want to take the deposition. They've done it. They can do it. They will do it. But and there's this perfect match. And what we find with the most successful law firms that work with law clerk is that they want non-partnership track associates to get the work done. They are willing to pay them a fair wage. They want them to get the paper done. They want them to put them in a position to go to court, to take that deposition, to file pleadings that they can be proud of and win cases for their clients or write contracts for their clients. But most firms don't need more people to go to court. Most firms don't need more people to interact with the clients or engage in deposition taking. They got more than enough people to do that. They need people to do the work, the paper, the writing, the contracts in the background. And virtual associates are perfect for that. It's what they want to do. It's what they're incredibly talented at. It's what they've been trained to do. And it frees up partners for their highest and best work. And that highest and best work is generally not writing. That highest and best work is that deposition, that client meeting, that going to court, negotiating with the other side. And so what we're finding is that what our talented associates, our remote associates want in life is exactly what firms need. And the economics of it are better. The business model is better. Not every employee of a law firm can become an owner. And that lends itself in the old days to what we called the up and out system, which is you'd hire an associate, they'd work for you for some number of years, and then they either made partner or they moved on someplace else. Again, that model doesn't work the way it used to. And having non partnership track associates to do this work, setting the expectations up front, is candidly a better business model unless you remain at one of those really, really small handful of firms that is going to double in size over every 7 years of your existence. And as the years go on, the law of big numbers is hard, and it gets harder and harder to do that.
It does get harder. And that's why it's exciting for us to see more firms taking the leap to try something new to work with these remote associates. So, what we mean when we're talking about remote associates, just to make it crystal clear, is an associate attorney who works for your firm in a remote capacity. They're not typically going to come into your office every day, and they just are there to produce good work to free up your time to do all those other things, as Greg said. Now, you hit there on the benefits, but let's talk about some dollars and cents and how this can have an impact on the economics of a mid-sized firm, especially when they're maybe really trying to control their overhead and expenses, but still get the work produced. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how this can have a really powerful impact on the economics of a mid-sized firm.
Yeah, well, legal's getting harder. It's becoming more competitive. There's a general, understanding out there from clients that they're less willing to pay to train young lawyers, and there's more rate compression than there's been in a long time, and inflation is eating away at our profitability. Overhead has always been the component of a law firm that we had the most control over. Overhead is obviously the obvious things, rent and equipment and the like. But we still run relatively simple businesses, which is 85% of us still sell our time in 6 minute increments, and we're working more towards hybrid, we're working more towards contingency. But at the end of the day, this is a business in which revenue overwhelmingly dictates the level of your profitability and while keeping costs under control are important. It's a much lesser component. You cannot save your way to profitability in a law firm. You can only generate more revenue and try and contain your costs in a way to increase what each partner takes home at the end of the week, the month, or the year. And that's why remote associates are really a fundamentally incredibly good tool for the business. And that under Rule 1.5, you get to um, sell their time. You get an hourly rate at a multiple of what you pay, exactly the same way you would with an associate. And so your revenue goes up. You get to leverage their time. You get to get more work done faster. Usually makes more happy clients. Usually produces better work, more wins. The whole thing. It's a spinning wheel of success that starts with doing good work and being able to leverage more time. But on the flip side, on the cost side, um, they do cost less. When they're remote, they don't consume as many resources. They consume a smaller footprint in your office. They consume less resources, obviously, within the office. And when you can do that magical thing, which is increase your revenue, because every associate you add to your firm increases your revenue, but at the same time, cut your expenses. That's a recipe for profit, and that's a bit of a recipe for that success at a law firm. And what we see is that the most successful firms who work with law clerk, they see exactly that outcome. They tell us, I increased my revenue, and my expenses per lawyer actually went down.
Well, that's like the dream that everybody who's running a law firm wants to achieve for their business model for sure. I wanted to point out that, I think when it comes to outsourcing work to remote associates, a lot of attorneys think, oh, that must be all litigation work. And we're seeing a split between litigation and transactional. Just wanted to point that out because that's been coming up a lot more in the conversations I'm having with lawyers lately. They say, well, this is probably just all litigation, right? And it's really not. I'd say, I don't know, Greg, what you think, but I think that we're seeing about 35% of the work being transactional. So it can go into both realms of the work, whatever your firm is handling.
Yeah, we see almost, what we see in the numbers is that it almost mirrors to the percentage what the overall market is. Depending upon where the data comes from, litigation is about half to 60% of kind of legal work in the country, and we see kind of similar numbers to that. But Kristen, to highlight your point, we have more remote associates on the platform than any law firm in the world has lawyers, let alone just associates, and they have every potential and possible skill set and experience level that you need. We have work that comes through that finds its way to the United States Supreme Court, all the way down to demand letters and everything in between. But what we really see mid-sized firms doing well, doing successfully that makes their clients happy and drives more revenue is, in the context of litigations, putting them in discovery, putting them in document review, putting them in drafting. But in the transactional work, it's M&A work. It's having a younger lawyer to start asset purchase agreements or sale documents. Literally, there's almost nothing I can think of that we haven't seen come through the platform. And tens and tens and tens of thousands of times, we've placed people with firms to do project work or all the way up to full time. And what we see with mid-level associates, mid-sized firms, is that they tend to want mid-level associates. They tend to want them full time. Sometimes they want, instead of one full time person, they want two half-time people. But we have firms that hire 7, 10 of our non-partnership track remote associates, and what they tell us is they spread them out over the firm, and whatever they need done, they find on Clerk. They find it fast, and they can spin people up to get working on things in an incredibly short amount of time that's measured in days.
yeah, the speed of working with remote associates is definitely a big selling point, I think, for a lot of mid-sized firms that have maybe been hunting for the right candidate to hire for months. They're not finding that person, and then they're very happy when they can find a remote associate, usually within a few weeks, if not faster. So, Greg, you alluded to this, but I think another great point to highlight for anyone watching this is the ways that, because of this depth of talent that we've built at Law Clerk, you really can find what you need in the quantity that you need. So if you need a full-time associate to help your litigation practice at your mid-sized firm, we can help you with as many of those as you need. If you need someone to come in certain specialty areas and do work just as needed by the hour, we can find those folks. Or of course, project work when you need to tap into some subject
Yeah.
matter that you have expertise in.
We had a couple of big wins last week that I think are really indicative of how mid-sized firms successfully use us. We had what I wouldn't call a mid-sized firm, I'd call a big firm. We had a big firm of 400 lawyers who needed a document review done, and they needed like 10 or 12 attorneys to go through it. And so we found them the ability to within a day, to put 12 really skilled document review lawyers on a project that they had that was short term. And they got that project done fast, and they got that project done successfully, and they integrated it into their e-discovery. And it was not only profitable for that large firm, but it actually was cheaper than they could do it in house. But we had a couple more wins that I think are incredibly relevant to the conversation we're having today. We had a mid-sized firm, 30-ish lawyers, who hired three of our remote associates to put into litigation. But those litigation associates were reviewing documents, were drafting pleadings, and were engaged in discovery. And if you think about it, they added 10% of the capacity of the firm in under a week because they had work ramp up. And to be able to add 10% of talented people to get more work done in a matter of days is like a remarkable success story that we're super proud of. We had another firm who's hired, I think, 8 of our associates on a full-time basis. They've got a very specific business model, but they've got 8 of our associates on a full-time basis doing mass tort work. Pretty good sized firm, bigger. We see we see specialized firms come through, firms that have a smaller number of lawyers and more paralegals. And what they find is that they can, for a competitive cost to what they're used to hiring a paralegal, they can actually find licensed U.S. based, exclusively U.S. based lawyers to do the same work for the same price, but get a better product out of it. And and probably, the most noteworthy thing I'd say, Kristen, is that the fastest growing piece of law clerk is mid-sized firms who are finding that we aid their business model. And mid-sized firms, I guess it's a bit of a surprise in that when we started law clerk, we envisioned that it would be more of a tool for solos and smalls to sort of get more work done. But the challenges of hiring at mid-sized firms is probably the hardest segment of the market now. Mid-sized firms struggle to hire, and when they do hire, again, it takes months and months and months. I've done it. I've done it 100 times. Headhunters, they feed you a pool of a couple of candidates that they have. The best of them might have a pool of a couple of dozen. We've got a pool of thousands we've got a pool that exceeds 10,000. And that means that you get what you're looking for, with the experience that you're looking for, with the subject matter expertise that you're looking for. And if you're looking for somebody who's done something super nichey or somebody who's had experience litigating a particular discrete issue, it's remarkable how often we rarely fail at finding exactly the right person. And it's the beauty of the business. And, we started Law Clerk as lawyers because we knew what we needed to succeed. And mid-sized firms are having the most success that we've seen when they fully integrate our associates, our remote associates, into their platform
Yeah, I
and get
wanted
them
to
to
talk
work.
about that next
Mhm.
because I think that's really the secret to success that we're seeing with the firms that we're working with is I think there maybe are some misperceptions about hiring a remote associate and how much you would be able to integrate them with your firm. So let's talk about some of the ways we're seeing these successful firms and what they're doing that is different and is setting them up for success in the long run with remote associates. What are some of your favorite things? And then
Yeah.
I'll share mine.
So what we've seen is that smaller firms tend to use us more on discrete projects, and that's great. We built all the tools so that you can get project work done. If you need a one-off motion or research memo or pleading or contract. But what we found is that mid-sized firms do best when they integrate them into the firm. And again, most of our mid-sized firms are hiring our remote associates for 120, 140 hours a month. Some of them 80 hours a month, but they're larger commitments. And what they do to succeed is to integrate them into their firm, give them a firm email address, integrate them into the billing software, integrate them into the document management system, introduce them to the firm in whatever platforms you're using, whether it be Teams or Slack. And the deeper you integrate them into the firm, the more success that they have in fitting into the culture and understanding the ways you work, the ways you write. That's where we see the most success and candidly the happiest clients. I don't mean our clients, I mean firm clients. And we see that the economics work out the best and they're the longest relationships. But remember, Clockwork is built for one thing, which is to allow in any way that a firm needs to get work done to provide tools to get that work done better and faster and more profitably. And so most of our mid-sized firms, they do best by integrating our people into their technology and their workflows. But we have tons and tons of firms who still use the workflows that we provide because we have everything that you need. We have time and billing components. We have document sharing components. We have communication. We've got video conference. We've got chat. So however your firm works, we've got a solution for you to deal with your remote associate. But most of the firms that have the most success with integration do it by integrating them into their own technology stack that you already use at your firm.
Definitely. I think a few more key components to that successful integration is the firms that also integrate them into the communication flow. So if you use some sort of an instant messenger tool internally for communications on
Hmm?
cases, add them there. And then certainly ongoing communication. So if you have weekly team meetings to review cases and the upcoming calendar, they should be a part of those meetings. We also always recommend that the kind of the lead attorney working with that remote associate has maybe a monthly one-on-one just to give them some feedback on how they're doing and find out ways the firm can better support them to successfully produce more and more work. So I'm sure we could probably go an hour just on all the ways that we're seeing firms integrate them, but it's really important for folks to know that is possible with a remote associate in a full-time capacity. And that's really exciting. Greg, before we share information on how folks can reach out if they would like more information about our remote associates, I just wanted to invite you if you had any closing thoughts that you wanted to share.
Yeah, obviously, I'm really proud of what we've built. I'm proud of it as a lawyer because the business of law and the practice of law are not always the same thing. And the business of law is getting harder. There's a lot of demand for what we need. Mid-sized firms are, I think, having a bit of a golden age at the moment. I think mid-sized firms are at the right place at the right time, and they seem to be overwhelmed with work. And providing tools for mid-sized firms to find the most talented of people that you can imagine with experience. These are not people who couldn't get a job. These are people who've been trained by some of the best firms in the world and have decided that they want to live a different lifestyle. Sometimes it's because they want to have kids or they have parents who have needs. And sometimes it's that they just don't want to chain themselves to a desk for 17 hours a day and want to be able to work remotely or work from a different city. But the talent pool is amazing, and it is a way to get more work done. You obviously can do it faster, you can do it more profitably, but it just makes the practice of law all that much better. When you're not faced with deadlines, when you have the ability to get the work done on shortened time, it pleases the clients. And I just couldn't be more proud of the way that we're helping literally thousands of the most successful firms in the country meet their staffing needs, meet their goals, and make themselves more profitable. And at the end of the day, there's this magic thing that lawyers who are trying to change the world one little step at a time want to see happen. And we talk about this internally all the time. We want to see lawyers make more money, yet at the same time be able to deliver a product to their client on a cheaper basis. And if we can drive down the cost of legal services by making your firms more efficient, by making your firms more adaptable and easy to run, yet allow you to put more profit in your pocket, and that's like the gold standard of everything that we ever set out to achieve. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it happen on a daily, hourly basis with firms who are trying a different model um, and being more flexible and finding a way to do all these things. And like, I just couldn't be more proud, Kristen, of what we and the team have built over the years. And it's really great to see other firms who are finding the same success.
That's for sure. That's for sure. All right, folks. Well, we hope that you have enjoyed this discussion about the ways that we're seeing mid-sized law firms fully integrate and incorporate remote associates into their business model to get more work done. We know there's a lot of work out there. Everyone is feeling that. And so if your firm is struggling to fill positions or find the talent you need, we want to invite you to check out Law Clerk as another hiring solution. And we would submit a better hiring solution. You can find more information about Law Clerk at www.lawclerk.legal. Or if you are ready to talk to one of our team members and explore ways that we can come up with the best options for your firm, you can also reach out to us at team@lawclerk.legal. So, on behalf of Greg and myself, I want to say thank you for joining us, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.